Hey there, hey there. So this is Dr. Pam Perry, and today we're going to have a show. Hopefully, have a good show with Monique Farmer. I'm waiting on her to come in, but I wanted to say this right out the gate that media, getting press, is not a mystery. It is a strategy, and so you need to have a good story. I just posted something about what are the good 10 angles that you need in order to pitch a story. Obviously, it needs to be timely, it needs to be newsworthy. But one of the things is a hero uh, area that you can say a local hero area. I just had someone on not too long ago, and they are like a hero, and they really have a very, very good way of really going back to their high school with their book called One Decision. I gave him an idea. You know, people who are in PR, they have these ideas bubbling all the time. So while I wait for Monique to come on, we're going to really bring her up right after this.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there, hey there. I promise you I was bringing her up. There she is. There she is. How are you?
How are you? I am
Good.
to the next. So hopefully you can see me clearly.
Okay, yes, I can see you. Great. So give us a little bit of, thank you for joining us. Give us a little bit of your background too, because I understand that you've done some teaching, you're an award-winning author, you're an APR, you have a lot of credentials. I always say that us African-American ladies, we have all the letters behind our name. We have all the things. We're doing all the things. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams, right? This is the thing. I always say that, you know, if you go back 2 generations, African Americans,
Yeah.
sharecroppers. Okay, before that, it's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your story, Monique.
Well, first, Dr. Pam Perry, thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show this evening. So where do I start? This is my 25th year in PR. Just have a passion for it. At first, I thought I was going to be a newspaper reporter, but then I got to undergrad and learned there's this whole world of PR. I started my career in federal government. I worked 12 years for U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in public affairs. And then from there, I went to corporate communications. So I was a corporate communications manager for ConAgra Foods. It's now ConAgra Brands. I led communication strategy for the largest school district in the state of Nebraska. Omaha Public Schools educates 1 out of 6 kids in our state. And then from there, I went to the classroom where I taught as a full-time professor of practice at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I also have taught asynchronously for University of Texas at Austin. So had plenty of time in the classroom. I'm actually really excited because I found out today that one of my master's degree students, I'm going to get to work with her on a project. She was recently hired at a nonprofit. So we're going to get to do a fun project together this summer. And so here I am. I started my firm, Avant Solutions, in 2019 and have just been building it up ever since then, having a grand time.
Wow. So after about 25 years being in different areas, you got your APR. When did you get your APR? And tell people what that stands for.
Accreditation in Public Relations. Got that done in 2013.
Okay.
So journey, but I'm so glad I did it. Yeah.
Yes. And so right before COVID hit, you started your company.
That
was a little different.
Yeah. And
Tell us about that journey.
For most people, I think, you know, depending on the industry you were in, starting a business before COVID was like hair on fire. But for me, I'm in communications and PR. And so a couple of my first clients, actually my very first client was my previous employer, the school district, Omaha Public Schools. Onboarded my successor, and then they were my first client for 2 years. I had them help them through messaging and research needs in the midst of this global pandemic that no one had a playbook for, right?
Right.
The state of Nebraska, same thing. So Test Nebraska, that was the That was the instrument that was put into place to test and figure out what the numbers were in our state in terms of, COVID cases. And then in addition to that, the vaccination. So just making sure the communications were shared across the state of Nebraska. We could keep track of, how many cases and how that was changing day by day. Just all of that information that we needed to get out to people across the state in the middle of all of that.
So one of the things I always ask people, what was the inkling that or that you knew you wanted to be an entrepreneur and start your company Avant?
That's a great question. It's so, I think I heard myself say it. I was in the midst of trying to identify a new opportunity when I was working for federal government. So the thing about federal government, I worked for a district and I'm in the heart of the nation in Omaha, Nebraska. Most of the time, if you're going to move up the federal government ranks, you got to go to DC. Like that's where all the big wigs are. That's where the SESers are. That's where most of the GS 14s, 15s are. Like the numbers get bigger when you go to DC. And Omaha, Nebraska is a great place to raise a family. My kids were young. My husband worked for the city of Omaha. He has his entire career. He's got one more year to go. But I knew that I wasn't going to move to Washington, D.C. And so I was interviewing at the time for a role that was going to require me to lead a PR firm. The person who had vacated the role died unexpectedly. And so I had been recruited to be one of the potential people considered for the CEO role. And so, as part of that interview process, I heard myself say, I would like to own my own PR firm one day. And then I thought, yeah, I would like to do that. And I had what I've learned now in entrepreneurship too is we come in with our technical skill and capability, but business and entrepreneurship, that's a whole different,
it's a whole nother thing.
You have to learn all of that. So that is what I have been learning. I'm learning all the time. This is year 7. I have a business forum group that I meet with on a very regular basis around some other like-minded people who have similar kinds of just stuff happening and no one else understands and you have no one else to commiserate with, but it keeps you sane and it keeps you going.
That's true. I always say that being an entrepreneur is the best personal development program you could ever put yourself through and put yourself in, because it will pull and stretch on everything. If you're not a numbers person, you're going to be a numbers person. If you're not a person that, like, I'm an HR person, you're going to be the HR. You're wearing all the hats and you have all the roles. And at least at the very beginning, because you need to know who to hire, because you have been, you know what it is that you're looking for, what kind of things. So yeah, that is so true. But having a community of other entrepreneurs is really important, that you can talk with and bounce over. Like even like, what software do you use for your accounting, or who's your lawyer, or do you have a lawyer? Those kind of things. Because when you are a publicist, you're just doing the work. I work for agencies, I work for companies, I work for nonprofits. You're just doing the work. So you don't have to worry about payroll. You don't have to worry about none of that stuff. You just come in, do the work, and leave, And in a lot of ways it's easier, but it is, Monique, it is more fulfilling, obviously, having
very much so. Yeah. Very much so. You get to decide who your clients are. You pick
that part.
You got to be disciplined though, because
that was really the main.
If you do not work and produce, you do not get paid. So there's that.
That was the main reason, I think, for me really starting my firm about 25 years ago, was that I wanted to pick my own clients. So I had worked for McDonald's, and nothing wrong with McDonald's. I mean, I just didn't want to be pushing burgers. Or I worked I'm in Detroit, so automotive things, and I'm not really crazy about, pushing cars. And so it's just other things, whatever you're in an agency, whatever the client is they bring in, that's what you work on. And I was like, I'd really like to work with a different type of client.
Yeah.
And that's really why I started it. And I wanted to work with a particular niche in the multicultural area, or the African American space.
Yeah.
Working with Black press and Black media. That was just like my area. And I guess if there had been a company that probably did what I wanted to do, I may have worked with them, but there wasn't at that time, at the beginning of 2000. I mean, Terry Williams maybe, but she was in New York. So Terry worked with the type of clients that I would have liked to work with. And she ended up starting her own foundation and that sort of thing. But there was no one that I saw that was doing the type of work that I want to work with speakers, authors and really
Yeah.
getting those people that were just starting out with their brand and really, giving them the tools to really go forward. So that was really my main thing. With you, 2019 was a whole nother thing. Oh my goodness, going into 2020. So tell us about the book, because the book that you have as well, I want people to actually go and understand
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
So the book that came about really
Oh, I
because,
can't. Okay. Yeah.
can you hear me now? Okay. I was in the middle of
Yeah.
really trying to wrap my brain around coming out of industry. And if I'm being really candid, unlearning a lot of the things that you learn when you're in a workplace, if you're an individual contributor for years, and then even if you've run a team, it's just a different mindset. And if I could
Yeah.
find the words to really articulate it, I feel like I had to unlearn like getting permission to do things like in my mind. Like, can I do that? Can I do? Yeah, I had this like underlying, and it's hard to explain
But it
the
was a couple of decades of that. It really is. And then government is all different by itself.
so
So
regimented. Yeah.
yes, yes.
And so you kind of have to unlearn so that you can tap your creativity so you can get into this entrepreneurial mindset to build what you're trying to build. So I worked with a life and career coach and with a cohort alongside a cohort of about 12 other women who were just trying to figure out life. And it didn't even have to just be life or career. Like one person was recently divorced after 27 years, and she was trying to break through whatever her inertia was that she couldn't necessarily name. Somebody else had been working on a book for like 7 years and they just couldn't get it done. Like we were all motivating each other. And in my one-on-ones with my life coach, as we would have discussions about the way that I approach challenges in my life, we ended up discovering this 9-step methodology that I essentially use anytime I run into something sticky or hard, because I would just be telling her these stories. And so she, after about 4 or 5 of those, she said, I'm not sure if you realize this, but you go through these steps. You do this first, you do this. And then I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't realize it, unbeknownst to me. So the book is about this 9-step approach that I take to go from tension to tranquility. And it's me sharing that methodology with other people who feel stuck.
I love
So, yeah.
It's something that we do all the time that is pretty much like second nature to us. It's something that is our secret sauce that then you put in a book. That's really it. That's one of the things. And you talked about how you got into PR. It's like at first I wanted to be a newspaper reporter. I think that skill set of being a reporter or someone who wants to report on news or discover or just very curious, those are the people that make good PR people. And so really, I always say that we're kind of like the inverted side. We don't work for a media outlet, but we have the same skill set as a journalist or a producer. And so being, I won't say nosy, I'm saying curious. So, so you're always just like trying to dig deeper for the story, dig deeper for the why, who is it, and finding out what makes people tick. That's one of the things too, that if you don't care about how people tick, then you will never probably be good in any PR and that sort of thing. So those are the things for me. I really felt like I connected people as soon as someone tells me about something. I remember it for whatever reason, and then I go and I meet someone else, and it's like, oh well, you need to meet the person from Story.
Yes, I do that.
Yeah, it's like you sort things together and you put it together, and it's like, and I'm thinking like, don't other people do this? And they're like, no, they don't. They don't.
They don't remember. They don't care.
Yeah. It's like that's how they think. It's like, oh, okay. So that's one of the reasons why too. So let's kind of talk about get out there, get known. This podcast is really about really talking to my media friends and talking to people who are in the industry and public relations and communication strategy. Let's talk a little bit about how people get out there, get known. What are some of the steps? Because I know you're about that people will take. And let's talk about your online strategy that you have as well.
Yeah, so I have a client right now. We're mostly going to support this client through social media. She's got some big things coming up in the fall. But so I think it's very important to start with understanding first what that person's individual brand is, right? Like, who are they? How do they want to position themselves in the world? What is it that they offer to who why, who needs that, like what they do, who they do it for, and why it matters, like the what's in it for their audience. So once we've got that positioning together and we've got messaging together, I mean, obviously we have our whole peso model that we can tap, right? Are we going to use paid? Are we going to go through earned, get some media that doesn't cost us as much, but gets us a wide reach, gets us those impressions? Are we going to, you can't be in the world today and not lean on social. That's where everybody is. So you just need to know, where is your audience on social, or where are they, period, depending on that demographic and their psychographics. That's how I like to help my clients position, to know where they should be and how they should message to the people that they're trying to reach. So it depends, very customized. And we mostly work with nonprofit organizations. And I love that, because the mission is there.
Yeah.
We align with the mission and we're on board with that. You know, a lot of times, we are a lot better about this now, Pam, than we were when we first started. But you know, you can get so passionate about the mission that now you're in the red, because you're trying to keep the costs down, and
you're trying to give them more and more.
And it's like,
exactly.
But we still have to have a profit margin so we can exist next year to help you some more. So you learn those things, right? Like as you're building the business. But those are probably, most of our clients are nonprofit. We work with local government, state government. I got to do a training once at the Pentagon, was invited there after a Navy commander watched one of my online training presentations. So it's been a fun journey. But yeah, if we're trying to get them reach, we do the discovery consultation to really understand who they are and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to achieve, and we work from there.
So one of the main things, I always remember this even from college, is the peso method. What is paid? What is earned? Earn is like, I'm pitching Essence magazine. You can't pay to get in there. Well, you can pay, that would be an ad, but that you have to earn their trust, or they have to vet you, and then you have a story run, or if it's a television station, you're pitching. So that's one of the things about learning how to pitch, and that's the earn. That's a big part of PR. It's not all of it, but it's a big part of it. So paid is, obviously, sometimes there's pay to play. I will say that there's some things that look like they're editorial, but it's really advertorial. Or paid, it could be paid advertising. A lot of that happens. That's a big part of it. But pay to play could be something like Forbes, or there's a lot of local magazines that are magazines are probably like the first ones that really kind of did the paid, but they'll say advertorial across it. Earned is when you are pitching, and I have a seminar actually tomorrow that I'm doing for 90 minutes with a small group on how to pitch, and basically explain to them angles and hooks and how to find who to send it to. And I'm actually booking some people on the spot, because a lot of them, I know the media that they're trying to reach. And so I can just say, hey, let's get that, and booking them, because pitching is a part of it in order to get the earn. So I always tell people, I said, the reporters aren't running around on the street like Clark Clint. You know, they're not reporters. You got to pitch them, okay? And then the shared is a social media, that sort of thing. We call it user generated content, is really, really big. That's a whole nother thing. I love user generated content. And then also too, the owned. So this is a podcast. I own this podcast, or Speakers Magazine. Speakers Magazine is owned. I own the Speakers Magazine. So that's owned. So that's the method of the different types of PR. But messaging is what Monique said first, is that you really need to have clarity on that, and then know the positioning that you have. I do the quiz. I have the PamPerryPR.com quiz. And one of the first questions on that quiz is, is your brand compelling to your ideal client? 99.9% of everybody who answers that question says yes. And I'm thinking, like, maybe I'm not really saying that question right, because it's like, is your brand compelling to your audience? And I guess they say yes, but I'm thinking, like, if it was, then you would have all the clients that you need. Like, that's not, so anyway, so I've got to figure that. But talk about the online quiz, the online tool that you have.
Okay, yes. So Anvil Ready. I created Anvil Ready about 5 years or so back. It was the tool that when I was working in federal government, when I was working for the school district, I wish someone else had created, because I needed it and it didn't exist. So essentially, it guides the communication strategist from research to planning to implementation, which is essentially when we are, pushing through. I can't find my
Pitching.
words.
Pitching.
You're executing that
Mhm.
campaign, and pitching could be part of that.
Mhm.
To evaluation. Often, I mean, I have been a judge for this is my 13th year last month being a judge for Public Relations Society of America, their awards, national ones. It's heavy hitters. But
Mhm.
year
PRSA.
over year,
Mhm.
you get a handful of cream of the crop. What I always get annoyed about is at the onset, we're supposed to set the goals and say, here's the goals, here's the objectives. We're going to aim for 2,000 people in attendance at this family friendly concert at the park. And that's just an example. So then I'm reading this entry and they tell me all about how much earned media they had, how much reach, and what the messaging was and all that. But then I get to the end and they don't tell me, did they get 2,000 people to the park or whatever the goal was, right? It's that program evaluation ideology. Like, not only are we doing communication and PR, that's the intervention, but like, what is the goal, the
Goal.
programmatic goal, or what have you, that we're using this communication intervention to achieve?
Like
and
that.
often that is the piece that falls through the cracks, or the creativity. Like, the ones that win are creative, or the PR campaign on a shoestring budget, and you're sitting there like, how in the world did they achieve that? Or what hidden jewel do you not realize you have in your toolbox that you can leverage to get to a goal that makes this, a creative, out of this world campaign?
So people
So,
can actually buy this tool, or or their clients that only could use the tool, or how do they
yeah,
access
they
that?
can go to anvilready.com to access the tool, and they can purchase a subscription. There's 3 tiers from basic to mid-range to full-scale capabilities. And once they've built their plan inside of the tool, they can share it with others on their team or with their client, or they can they can export a PDF of that campaign or a PowerPoint if they want to present it. But it is the steps that we're supposed to be using when we create a campaign, so that we set those goals, so that we have captured the different aspects of that campaign that are paid, that are earned, that are social, that are owned, and it's integrated all the way up to, did you achieve the goals? So
Okay. And so spell that for me, so I make sure I'm gonna put that up here as well. AD.
it's A as in Apple, N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, L as in love, ready, anvilready.com.
ANVIL, one L,
Yes, one L.
ready.com. Okay, so I'm gonna put that here. And so anvilready.com. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So they can go there and actually get that as well. Because those tools are important. Research is really key. We don't just shoot from the hip. It all has a goal. In order to figure out the goal, you got to do the research. So that's like it's laying the groundwork for that as well. So I want to make sure that people do that anvilready.com and they can actually get that. And then the quiz that I have basically is like 10 questions, like how media ready are you? And I ask them pull questions about their brand, and do they have media kits? Do they know how to pitch? Do they pitch on a regular basis? I mean, just certain things. You know how sometimes if you're doing a beginning discovery call with someone, it's like, well, do you have these things in place? And if they don't, then it's like, we need to start here. Because of course, when we get clients, one of the first things that they want to do is like, well, can you get me on, I don't know, Wall Street Journal, News, CNN,
Times. They want all the
Oprah, today's show. Yeah, Oprah. And it's like, well, let's see where you are right now. Let me just see your media kit. What have you got so far? Have you been in your local newspaper yet? So we don't want to hold people back, but we do know the steps that they have to take. So Monique, I want people to go there as well. And then also your book is on Amazon as well, correct?
It is. Chart Your Path, a 9-step method to getting unstuck.
Okay, so I want people to go there and get that as well. So that's been your first book. Now, someone was working on their book for 7 years. You did not take 7 years to do your book. So has it been everything that you thought it would be? Would you write another one, or is it like a one and done?
I'm gonna do it again for sure. I had so much support just from my community of supporters. When you are writing a book for the first time, and if you're not in celebrity status, it is mostly like those. It's like when you do crowdfunding, and we did that to finance paying for the book to get done.
Yeah,
The,
that's
the
important to
designers,
do.
the editors. But I just sincerely appreciated all of the support, and I brought them along the journey, like before, and that was scary for me because I did it as a cohort. I did it as a class. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten done in a year. It was a class, and so the editors would be on us like, hey, if you don't get these chapters done by this date, it's going to cost an extra whatever. So you just typing,
That's true.
getting
That
it
is
out.
true. You do
Yeah,
need
but
the accountability.
that is, man, that'll set a fire to me and get me going. So we did get it done in a year, but I loved the journey. I love taking on a project like that just for understanding that you can strive for big things, hard things, and get them done. And so, yeah, it was the first time that I had done it. A lot of speaking engagements connected to the book. I had one even like in the last month. It was with some of my sorority sisters. They were celebrating their Founders Day. So
Yeah, books are hooks. They
yeah,
are really are. All books are hooks, and then obviously all the sororities and fraternities. They love scholastic academia. I mean, books. It's one of the things. I think it's basically all the fraternities and sororities have like a pillar that is talking about the scholastic part. That part that is out of all of them. So that is really important. And actually, there was a couple of Rashonda Tate Billingsley and also Victoria Christopher Murray. Both of them are fiction authors, but they got their groundswell, and they're very, very successful now, but they got their groundswell with Rashonda's an AKA, Victoria's a Delta. And so when they went to all the different chapters around the country, put themselves on tour, they went to bookstores, but they also went to their chapters as well. And then they went to their conventions and their nationals, so it grew from there. And I always tell people, I said, who are your people? And that's and part of it is like, those are the people that will support you. And so those are so important, because people think like, oh, I'm gonna just put it on Facebook. And I said, but those people really don't. I mean, they do know you, but the people who really are going to support you are your people.
Yeah, they'll come, and they have my sorors really, really have been very supportive, even from day one. Book launch, they all of the things, pre-sales. So it's a fun journey. Like I said, it's not a New York Times bestseller. It was an Amazon bestseller.
Yeah, that's important. You got to start.
You got to start, and it does open a bunch of additional doors for you to be able to just explore some other opportunity areas, especially even in PR. And just another avenue to go beyond the work, because we do the PR work, but then we have these other multifaceted aspects of ourselves that we want to explore. And so I have appreciated that I've been able to do that. But I love writing, so it'll happen again. It's just a matter of, I got this 17-year-old that's going to graduate in May. So once we get him successfully on his way, then Mama will start thinking about like, what are some additional goals that we want to put on the to-do list.
And writing, like what you just said, you originally thought you would be a newspaper reporter, that kind of thing, and then writing is just part of it. But books now, people will ask you to come and speak and motivate people, because the book is kind of an inspirational book and that sort of thing. So it just gives you a whole nother level of something that now you can add to, you're the CEO of your company, but now people will ask you to come in and give some inspiration to help them get unstuck. That's really the main thing, to help them get
doing that too. Gonna build an intensive, hopefully. I got to get a small team together for that, but I'd love to do like a weekend intensive, like a retreat that's around
the book.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that really come out when you do a book. You can make it a course, you can make it a workbook. I mean, those are and it really helps a publicist to pitch you more when you have a book. And that's why I always tell people that they need to do that as well, because that's one of the main things. It's like, okay, let's get this going. So is there anything else you have coming up? I'm just so glad that you came on the show today, and we get to vibe about this kind of thing, talk about pitches and talk about peso, talk about all the things PR. And it's evolved. Obviously, when you started, it's evolved. And like you said, you have one client now that's focusing on social. That was not a thing like years ago. Now we got to learn how to be these social media beasts. So is there anything else that you want to share with someone who wants to get out there and get known?
Well, for those of us now who are in PR, I am doing everything I can to keep pace with what's happening in this whole world of artificial intelligence. I will say that. And so I am constantly just like
Yeah.
getting to the trainings. I've got some training I'm going to take on in May. It's just changing our ability to be able to, I think, be more productive. I feel so much less stressed too because I have a brain partner.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
different AI tools. But just in terms of what I have coming up, I mean, I am also very active in my Public Relations Society of America chapters. So I've been getting lots tapped on the shoulder quite a bit from across the nation to come to their chapters, speak at their conferences, whether that's virtual or in person. So for those of you who are in PR, if you're PRSA people, keep an eye out or even visit me on the PRSA website. I write for our global publication strategies and tactics, and just keeping pace with what's happening in our industry and writing about how we need to be thinking about it and approaching it. So I'd invite you there.
That's true. That is so true. I forgot. It's always going to be changing. And so really we went to school for it, but we are always in school because it's changing.
Always.
It will be different next year.
We don't want to be dinosaurs. We want to be on top of it.
Yep. Last quick question. Claude, Gemini, or ChatGPT, which is your favorite?
I'm a ChatGPT girl, but I had a long conversation yesterday with my business forum about Claude. Like they are into Claude. They talk about how much it has grown even in the last like 6 months. So I'm gonna have to check Claude out. But I'm a ChatGPT.
Claude is, and the same with you. I'm a ChatGPT person. I actually, before ChatGPT, I was with something called Jasper. That was an old one, and I was like headstrong.
I tried it. I just
I loved it, and I didn't want to leave it. And then they said, "No, you got to try Chat." So now I'm on Chat. Now they say, "We got to try Claude." I was like, "Okay, I just got used to this one." Yeah.
But for now, it's ChatGPT.
Yeah, it is. It is so. It's so exciting. That's why we stay in it. We love helping clients. We love really discovering new ways for them to get out there, get known. So thank you so much for joining us today. And I will have your show notes down there and the links to your book and all that kind of stuff too, so people can get that. And PRSA Detroit, if you're listening, bring her in. Yeah, bring her in this week. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Pam Perry. Have an amazing evening, and we will be in touch.
All righty. Take care. God bless.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.
Hey there. So tomorrow, Thursday, if you're watching this live or you're watching it before I send this out as an email, go to PamPerryPR.com/PR Pitch Fix. It's hard to say. PamPerryPR.com PR Pitch Fix. And if you want to get booked on the spot, that's what we'll do. We'll get booked 7:00 p.m. and we'll take your pitches, fix them, and get you out there and get you known. All right. God bless. Take care. God bless.